The story takes place on a ruined Earth city after a war between humans and an alien species called the Gothari. The Gothari call humans Ashwake, meaning an extinction event, creatures who destroy their own homes to fight back. Mariana Maricosta is a human survivor and scavenger who steals a powerful alien energy cell from a Gothari warship. She is captured, but uses her intelligence, courage, and understanding of the alien technology to fight back. Instead of a traditional battle, she attacks the ship itself, turning its systems against the Gothari. The story explores themes of survival, sacrifice, and the fierce will of humans to protect their world, even at great cost. The tone is tense, emotional, and cinematic, full of suspense and sharp visual action. The stakes are high. If Mariana fails, her world and people could be destroyed. But her fight is not just for herself, it is a warning to the galaxy about what it means to face the humans. The ruins of Rio lay silent under a gray sky, the air thick with dust and decay. Buildings, once proud and tall, now leaned like tired giants, their skeletons broken and empty. Mariana Maricosta moved carefully through the rubble, her eyes sharp and alert. Years of running messages and scavenging for the favela defense collectives had made her skilled at reading the city's secrets. She knew which paths were safe, which tunnels held breathable air, and which places were traps. Today, she hunted not for glory but for life, a power cell that could run the water purifier for her enclave high in the ruins. Her heart beat steady but heavy as she slipped into the shattered hull of a downed Gothari swarm fighter. The alien ship was a dark shadow in the ruined luxury hotel lobby, half buried beneath broken concrete and twisted metal. The air inside smelled strange, charged particles mixed with a faint scent like cinnamon, decay alien and old. She knew the power cell was there, where the schematic had told her. It was small, gray, smooth, a bioorganic device unlike anything she had seen. It pulsed softly in her hand, warm as if alive. Suddenly, a tiny sound shattered the silence, a pebble falling far away. Her body froze. It was not the sound of rubble settling. It was a footstep, heavy but trying to be quiet. She did not wait for a second step. She bolted, bursting out into the open plaza, her boots skidding on loose stones. A bolt of green plasma hissed through the air, missing her by inches. The concrete pillar behind her exploded in a cloud of dust and steam. The shot was too close, too powerful to be a miss. It was a warning, a trap was closing. She dove behind a fallen wall as another bolt struck nearby. The ground trembled beneath the heavy footsteps of the hunters. For giant Gothari warriors appeared, their bodies covered in tough armor that looked like carved stone. The leader, Hacker, moved with slow, deliberate grace. His eyes, black and hard like obsidian, studied her with cold curiosity. He circled her like a predator, speaking in guttural tones that the translator caller turned into flat words, a runner for the Mororo de Babylonia warlords. A common pest. Mariana's breath was steady, her mind sharp. They were not trying to kill her. They wanted to capture her alive. She knew she had seconds to act. With desperate courage, she shoved the power cell into the only hiding place she could think of, inside her own body. The pain was sharp and burning, but it was a risk she had to take. The glowing blue energy net shot from a weapon, wrapping around her like a cage of invisible bars. She hung helpless, caught like a fly. Hacker approached and examined her gear, his expression a mixture of contempt and interest. "You fight like rats," he said, "but rats in a wall are hard to catch." The cage walls shimmered, and she was taken to the Gothari warship. The air inside was cold and sterile, the gravity slightly heavier than Earth's. They stripped her of her clothes and tools, leaving her bare and vulnerable in a cage of energy. Her pain was dull now, replaced by a burning determination. They scanned her, poked and prodded like she was an insect. The technician, Ruck, was nervous, his thin voice shaking as he worked. But they did not find the power cell, her secret. Hacker spoke of the humans as a plague, a disease that destroyed its own home to fight off invaders. The word they used for humans, Ashwake, meant Extinction Event, a warning and a promise. Yet, despite their strength and weapons, the Gothari were confused. They had fought the humans on many battlefields, but the humans never used one single plan. Instead, they used chaos, destruction of their own cities, turning their world into a trap. Mariana listened and watched. Panic was useless. Her mind worked like a machine, calculating, waiting. Hours passed. Then came a flicker of hope. The energy field of her cage wavered for a split second during a power surge. Her eyes locked on the emitter at the cage base. A spark cracked. She waited, heart pounding beneath a calm mask. Slowly, painfully, she began the agonizing work of retrieving the power cell. The pain was fire, but she gritted her teeth and forced herself. She had no choice. When the cage shimmered again, she struck. Slamming the cell against the emitter caused an explosion of energy that shattered the cage walls with a crack like tearing fabric. Alarms blared. Chaos filled the ship. She snatched her multi-tool and vanished into the ship's bowels before they could catch her. The Gothari scrambled, confused and angry. The technician Ruck was trembling as he tried to track her. She was a ghost, slipping through maintenance shafts and power conduits, leaving behind glitches and malfunctions. She worked fast, sabotaging systems, rerouting power, using the alien technology against its own ship. Her plan was not escape, it was destruction. Hacker watched through cameras, fury and disbelief growing in him. The humans did not fight like soldiers. They fought like a disease, eating away at the enemy from inside. Her sabotage caused deadly failures. Plasma conduits vented superheated gas. Systems failed. The ship's perfect order began to crumble. The final confrontation was coming. The ship groaned under the strain of Mariana's sabotage. Systems flickered and failed like stars dying one by one in a dark sky. The clean lines of the Gothari warship were cracked by chaos, the machine turning against itself. Mariana moved like a shadow through the twisting corridors, each step a careful balance of speed and silence. Her body ached, bruised and bleeding, but her mind burned with fierce determination. Hacker stalked the bridge, his massive frame tense and restless. His eyes burned with a storm of frustration and disbelief. This was no ordinary hunt. The prey was tearing his vessel apart piece by piece, using tricks no warrior could understand. He had been a proud hunt lord, confident in his strength and the perfection of his ship. Now, he was a man chasing ghosts in a dying machine. "Where is she?" he growled to his officers. "Find her. Bring her to me." The technician Ruck's trembling voice broke the silence. "She's accessing the ship's control systems again, Hunt Lord. This time, the secondary generators are unstable." Hacker's eyes narrowed. "Then we have little time." Down in the bowels of the ship, Mariana's fingers danced over wires and circuits. She was building something, a key, a device to unlock and hijack the ship's systems. It was a chaotic tangle of scavenged parts and alien technology. The Gothari power cell pulsed faintly at its core, a strange, living heart of energy. Her thoughts drifted to the old engineer's voice she had heard during the war: "Every machine is a city. Find the transformer to blow and the city falls." She was not just fighting for survival, she was turning the ship itself into a weapon. Her device hummed to life, and with a deep breath, she plugged it into the ship's communications terminal. The ship's usual calm voice was replaced by a chaotic roar, a collage of sounds from human battlefields, shouts, explosions, cries of defiance, and laughter. The sounds filled every speaker on the ship, breaking the eerie silence with the raw noise of resistance. Ruck recoiled from his console, his sensor stalks flattening as if in pain. The orderly world he knew was shattered by the wild chaos of humanity. What is this?" he whispered, voice shaking. Meanwhile, Vor, a massive Gothari warrior, kicked open the door to the secondary generator room. His heavy boots echoed in the metal corridor as he approached the source of the broadcast noise. The room was empty except for a small communication panel on the wall, its cover hanging open. Vor's eyes scanned the space, searching for traps, but he did not see the small device plugged into the power conduit next to the panel. Mariana's trap. Suddenly, the ship shuddered. A low hum rose to a roar. Plasma conduits burst open, venting superheated energy into the sealed room. Vor was caught in the blast, his scream swallowed by the searing heat and crushing force. The room exploded in a flash of white light. The ship's internal alarms screamed warnings, lights flashing red. Hackers stared at the tactical display, a red icon flashing where the generator room had been, now marked as hazardous, destroyed by catastrophic failure. The blue icon representing Mariana moved through the ship. Not toward escape, but deeper into the warship's heart. She was dissecting it, tearing it apart from inside. Hacker felt a cold knot in his stomach. This was not a battle. This was an unraveling. The humans did not fight the Gothari, they fought the machine itself. Flood the corridors, one officer urged. Use gas, radiation, anything to stop her. Hacker silenced him with a single, sharp blow. No. She is a hunter. We will face her as hunters. He stood on the bridge, stripping off his heavy armor until only his powerful muscles and thick hide remained. He would face her as a predator, bare and true. Tell her, he commanded, I am ready. I await her on the bridge. No tricks. No traps. One hunter to another. He opened the path through the ship's defenses. The corridor to the command center was clear, an invitation to the final fight. Mariana moved like a ghost through the damaged halls, her body aching but her spirit unbroken. She held a length of sharpened conduit, a crude spear fashioned from the ship's own metal. The doors hissed open, and she stepped onto the bridge. Hacker was waiting. His massive frame filled the room. His claws flexed, ready to strike. The fight was fierce and raw. Hacker lunged like a storm, a blur of muscle and fury. Mariana dodged, her spear flashing through the air. His claws tore through empty space where she had been moments before. She slammed the spear into a coolant valve. The line shattered, releasing a cloud of cryogenic fog. The floor grew slick and blinding. Hacker roared in frustration, slipping on the frost. He corrected his attack, lunging again. She sidestepped, letting his momentum carry him into the main command console. Sparks flew. The battle was desperate and chaotic. For every blow he landed, Mariana broke another piece of his world, shattering screens, puncturing plasma conduits, triggering alarms. But Hacker was an apex predator. He adapted. His focus narrowed to her. He feinted left, then struck right, knocking the spear from her hand. It clattered uselessly to the floor. He cornered her against the console, his massive hand pinning her by the throat, lifting her feet from the deck. His talons pressed against her neck, sharp and merciless. Mariana's world dimmed at the edges. But then, something unexpected, she smiled. A ragged, bloody, defiant smile. This is how we won, she rasped, coughing blood. Hacker hesitated, confusion flashing in his eyes. What? He growled. We burn our own houses down, she whispered, locking eyes with him. Just to make sure you're still inside. The ship's synthetic voice cut through the tension, warning. Drive core magnetic field failure imminent. Catastrophic core breach in 90 seconds. The bridge lights pulsed red, bathing them in a hellish glow. Behind Mariana, the ship's drive core schematic showed containment fields collapsing. Hacker's eyes darted from the screen to the device in her hand. She had set the final trap. She had not just dismantled the ship. She had rigged it to explode. The choice was clear. Kill her and be vaporized with the ship. Or flee and leave her the victor. Hacker looked into her eyes and saw no fear. Only absolute certainty. He growled, not with anger or defeat, but with profound respect. He released her. Mariana crumpled, gasping for air. Without looking back, Hacker sprinted to the emergency pod. He did not run like a defeated warrior. He ran like a man fleeing a god. The pod rocketed away. Below, the warship blossomed into a white-hot star of plasma and fire. The sky above Earth burned briefly with the light of destruction. Hacker's final log crackled through space. He warned all not to enter human space. To touch them is to invite extinction. The fiery bloom of the destroyed Gathari warship faded against the morning sky, leaving behind only smoke and ash drifting over the broken city. Mariana Mari Costa lay on the muddy bank of Guanabara Bay, her body battered and bleeding but alive. The cold water had knocked some of the fire from her veins, but the ache in her bones was deep and steady. Her breath came in ragged gasps as she pushed herself upright, eyes scanning the gray horizon. She was alone. The ruined city stretched before her, skeletal skyscrapers, shattered streets, and the ghosts of 1,000 battles. But for Mariana, this was home. This wasteland was where her people fought to survive. The water purifier might be broken, the air thick with alien toxins, but the human spirit burned on. Behind her, a small piece of the Gathari swarm plate armor, the very shell that had protected her from re-entry, rested on the shore like a dark, twisted trophy. It was a reminder of the cost and the victory. The enemy had been driven back, but the war was far from over. Mariana's hands trembled as she reached into her jacket pocket. The bioorganic power cell she had stolen still pulsed faintly with life, a strange warmth against her palm. It was more than a tool, it was a symbol of hope, a key to survival in a world broken by war. But the Gathari would come again. The Hunt Lord's warning echoed in her mind, humans were not just another species. They were the Ashwake, a force of destruction that burned their own flesh to kill invaders. A living immune system for a planet that refused to die. She looked up as the first clean rays of the sun pierced the clouds, lighting the broken skyline with soft gold. The city seemed to breathe, waking from its long nightmare. Suddenly, the faint hum of a distant engine stirred the air. Mariana's eyes narrowed. She was not safe yet. Far above, in the cold emptiness of orbit, the life pod containing Hunt Lord Hacker rocketed away from the dying warship. Inside, the fallen Gathari Lord sat in stunned silence, the pride and arrogance stripped away by defeat. His massive claws clenched the armrests, knuckles white. "I was hunted by a philosophy," he whispered to himself. "Not a creature." The pod's communication systems were damaged, but a final message had been sent, a warning to the Gathari fleet. The humans were not to be underestimated. On Earth's surface, Mariana began her long journey back to the Enclave. Every step was a victory over pain and exhaustion. She carried more than a stolen cell, she carried a message. The Ashwake were alive. They fought not with perfect armies but with chaos, with sacrifice. Back in the ruins, a small group of humans gathered around an ancient radio transmitter. The crackling voice of an old engineer filled the airwaves, telling stories of resistance and hope. His words were a lifeline to those still trapped in the shadows. "We are the Ashwake," he said, voice steady. "We burn our homes so the enemy will find only fire. We fight with every broken piece left to us. And we will survive." In the skies above, the stars watched silently. The galaxy had been warned. The Ashwake were not just survivors, they were a force of nature. Mariana's footsteps echoed softly through the twisted remains of the city as she made her slow, painful way back to the Enclave. Each step was a battle against exhaustion, her body battered by the fall and the fight aboard the Gathari warship. But her mind was clear, burning with a fierce resolve. She carried the stolen power cell tightly, the small warmth in her palm a steady reminder that hope still lived. The Enclave was hidden in the high warren of Mororo de Babylonia, a cluster of ancient buildings reinforced with scavenged metal and scavenged tech. Its walls were thin but sturdy, and its people were weary, but they still clung to life. Old Man Susa, the Enclave's mechanic, would know how to use the Gothari cell. It might be the difference between survival and death. As Mariana entered the enclave, a hush fell over the small group gathered near the purifier. The machine stood silent, its usual hum absent for days. The people's faces were etched with worry and tired hope. When she revealed the cell, a wave of relief and disbelief swept through the crowd. Old man Sousa took the device with reverent hands, his eyes shining with gratitude and surprise. "This is more than power," he whispered. "This is a gift." Outside, the ruins waited, quiet but watching. The scars of war were deep, but the spirit of the Ashwake was deeper still. Their fight was not just against invaders but against the slow death of their world. Above, in the vastness of space, the Gothari fleet regrouped, their warships dark and brooding. Hunt Lord Hacker's final transmission echoed through their command halls, a grim warning that shook their confidence. The humans were not to be underestimated. They were not just a species, they were a force that destroyed themselves to burn away the enemy. Among the Gothari, doubt began to spread. Whispers of fear and respect mixed with anger and determination. Plans shifted. Strategies changed. The war was far from over, but the rules had been broken. Back on Earth, Mariana trained others in the secrets she had learned. The fight was not won, but the Ashwake were ready. They would burn their homes, break their machines, and rise again. Their planet was their weapon, and they would wield it fiercely. The horizon held no promises. The future was uncertain and dangerous. But one thing was clear, the humans were not prey. They were the Extinction Event, the Ashwake, and their fire would never die.